Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. We start from India, where 110 students from Jamia Millia and Aligarh University have been injured in protests against the controversial citizenship law. The law will give nationality to non-Muslim immigrants from 3 neighboring countries. Indian media says demonstrations in Aligarh University began when police stormed Delhi's Jamia Millia University. Protests have spread nationwide, with students in Hyderabad, Banaras, Kolkata and Kerala taking part. Media reported police have arrested 100 students and activists for protesting against the bill in Assam. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the Delhi police headquarters, demanding the release of those detained. In the protests, 6 people have been killed in Assam and 4 railway stations in Delhi set on fire. Moving on, the newly elected British MPs have vowed to become voice of Indian-occupied Kashmir in and outside the UK Parliament. 15 Britons of Pakistani and Kashmiri descent were elected to the UK Parliament in Friday's general election. In an interview, MP Afzal Khan said he will support Kashmir cause according to the UN Security Council resolutions. Another MP, Yasmin Qureshi, said India will have to give millions of Kashmiris their right to self-determination. MP Imran Hussain said they will use their offices to remind the world of its duty to settle the Kashmir dispute as per people's aspirations. Meanwhile, New Delhi's curfew and communications blackout in the valley have entered its 134th day. The US says it will not accept North Korea's year-end deadline to make concessions in stalled nuclear talks. Speaking to reporters, US Special Envoy for North Korea, Stephen Biegun, urged Pyongyang to return to the negotiating table immediately. Speaking directly to his counterparts in Pyongyang, Biegun said it is time to finalize the nuclear talks. He said it would be unhelpful if Pyongyang carries out a major military provocation in the near future.
We are fully aware of the strong potential for North Korea to conduct a major provocation in the days ahead. To say the least, such an action will be most unhelpful in achieving a lasting peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Biegun's comments come a day after North Korea conducted missile tests at a satellite launch site. He also met South Korean President Moon Jae-in in Seoul to discuss regional issues. Moving on, Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has threatened to close 2 strategic military bases used by the US in Turkey. In an interview, Erdogan said he will close Incirlik and Kirisik bases if Washington sanctions Ankara for buying a Russian missile system.
We will close down Incirlik if necessary. We will close down Kirisik as well if necessary. If the sanctions are implemented, we will give them the necessary answer within the rule of reciprocity.
Earlier, Foreign Minister Mevlut Çavuşoğlu said Ankara will not cancel its S-400 deal with Moscow. Now, moving on, Turkey says it is ready to provide Libya's internationally recognized government with any military support it needed. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan made the commitment in an interview after holding talks with Libyan Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj in Istanbul. Erdogan said Turkey will be protecting the rights of both Tripoli and Ankara in the eastern Mediterranean. He said the head of the Libyan National Army, Khalifa Haftar, is not a legitimate Libyan leader. Erdogan said Haftar represents an illegal structure. Ankara's latest move raises the risk of confrontation with Haftar's forces. Lebanon has postponed consultations to select a new prime minister over protests against Saad Hariri's possible nomination. Earlier, riot police and anti-government demonstrators clashed for a second night in Beirut, leaving dozens of people wounded. Police used tear gas and rubber bullets to disperse rallies outside the parliament. Protesters came out in defiance of a violent crackdown on demonstrators by security forces that left dozens wounded. Meanwhile, Interior Minister Raya Al-Hassan has ordered an inquiry into Saturday's fierce clampdown. The incident was one of the most violent since nationwide anti-government demonstrations began 2 months ago. Chinese President Xi Jinping says he backs Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam. After meeting Lam in Beijing, Xi said he supports the city's police to uphold the law. Earlier, Premier Li Keqiang told Hong Kong's embattled leader to probe the city's deep-rooted social problems and end the violence in its streets. Carrie Lam met China's Premier Li Keqiang on her annual duty visit to the Chinese mainland. Premier Li told Lam the unrest in the territory struck a serious blow to the economy. He said Lam had risen to the challenges but demanded her government take urgent action. Li also lamented the harm the protests had done to the society of Hong Kong as a whole. In Afghanistan, security forces have rescued 12 people detained by the Taliban in southern Uruzgan province. In a statement, officials say 3 Taliban fighters were killed and 5 others arrested in the operation. The military said the special operations were launched to rescue the detainees. They said more action will be taken in the future to release other captured civilians. The Taliban have not yet commented on the raid. Pakistan's Prime Minister has arrived in Bahrain as part of his initiative to promote peace in the Gulf. Prime Minister Imran Khan will meet Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa. Upon arrival, Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad bin Al Khalifa received PM Khan with a red carpet welcome. The Premier will attend the National Day of Bahrain as the guest of honor. PM Khan will also receive Manama's highest civil award, the King Hamad Order of the Renaissance. This is Prime Minister Khan's first visit to Bahrain since assuming office in August 2018. Pakistan is observing the 5th anniversary of the horrific attack on Army Public School in Peshawar. On this day in 2014, 132 children and 17 staff members lost their lives in a blatant act of terrorism.
In Pakistan, wounds of the Peshawar school attack reopen each winter. It was the second deadliest attack in the country's history. The Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, a proscribed group, claimed responsibility for the assault. In a tweet on the 5th anniversary, President Dr. Arif Alvi said the nation cannot forget the massacre of little angels of APS. He reiterated a pledge to root out terrorism and extremism in all its manifestations from the country. In his message, Prime Minister Imran Khan offered prayers for the survivors and victims of the massacre. Prime Minister Khan said the blood of the innocent united the nation against all forms of extremism and hatred. Chief of Army Staff, General Qamar Javed Bajwa, said the carnage will never be forgotten. He said 5 of the involved terrorists have been hanged through military courts. A number of activities are being held across the country today to remember the sacrifices of the innocent children.
It's time for a short break, but coming up next. UNESCO includes ancient music in cultural heritage list. And legendary baseball bat auctioned in California. Welcome back. In Niger, leaders of the G5 Sahel nations have paid tribute to 71 Nigerian soldiers killed in an attack last week. The leaders held a short prayer service in Niamey beside the graves of the slain soldiers. Burkina Faso President Roch-Marc Kabore called for closer cooperation between the 5 member nations.
It is more than necessary that we work quickly towards a fully capable joint force. It remains understood that the support of all the states in the region, as well as of those in the international community, is crucial to the outcome of our fight.
The G5 Sahel group is made up of Mali, Chad, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mauritania. Now moving on to Morocco, where Geneva artists are celebrating the inclusion of their century-old music in UNESCO's list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. The listing comes after Morocco submitted a file nominating Geneva to the ICH service in 2018. More about the celebrations in this report.
Artists in traditional costumes paraded through the white and blue citadel town of Asuaria. It's a reminder the ancient art form infuses traditional music and poetry along with dancing. Janava performers make the art vivid with their loose, colorful dresses and hats decorated with false braids.
We are working to ensure that the Nava wins, as did our parents who wanted to make this art known abroad. The Nava deals with all subjects, all religions, all histories of civilizations. The Nava is an encyclopedia.
Performers take you to a spiritual journey with the rhythm. This is played with a 3-string lute, guanbri, and steel castanets called karakibs. The UNESCO nomination file emphasized Morocco feels the 16th century art is part of its culture and identity.
It is a consecration that honors all Moroccans, that makes us proud, and then honors all the Gwanas throughout Morocco, since this brotherhood is present in all regions of Morocco.
The Nava and World Music Festival attract waves of fans each year from across the globe.
Babe Ruth's legendary baseball bat has been sold for $1 million to an unidentified buyer at an auction in California. Ruth hit his 500th homer in a game against the Cleveland Indians in 1929 with the same bat. More about the auction in this report.
Babe Ruth may have died more than 70 years ago, but the baseball slugger is still turning out big numbers. His record-breaking bat has just been sold for more than $1 million at an auction.
500th home run is a big category, obviously, in the baseball market, and Babe Ruth is the charter member. He started that in August 11th, 1929. This is the bat that he used to hit that home run.
Ruth gave the autographed bat to his friend, New York Mayor Jim Rice, in the 1940s. It has been in the family for nearly 75 years. Another Ruth bat used to hit the first home run out of Yankee Stadium in 1923, sold for nearly $1.3 million in 2004.
Now some business updates. South Korea and Japan have begun talks in Tokyo to find a breakthrough in settling their months-long trade row. The meeting is the first since Japan tightened export controls on some high-tech materials sold to Seoul. South Korea's Director General for International Trade, Lee Ho-hyun, and Japan's Director General for Trade Control, Yoichi Ieda, led the discussions. South Korean state media said both the sides discussed issues related to each other's export control systems. It said Seoul wants to induce Tokyo to fully hit exports controls and other regulations against South Korea. Indonesia has filed a lawsuit against the EU at the World Trade Organization, saying the bloc's restrictions on palm oil-based biofuel are unfair. In a statement, Indonesia's trade minister said the decision was made after assessing scientific studies. He said the country hopes the European Union can change their directive after the lawsuit. The minister said the EU policy would not just affect Indonesia's European exports, but would also tarnish the image of palm oil products. Earlier, the EU said palm oil cultivation results in excessive deforestation and its use in transport fuel must be phased out by 2030. Stock markets across Europe are trading higher as phase one of the trade deal between the US and China have boosted investors' confidence. The pan-European stock 600 added 1% in early deals to hit an all-time high. London's FTSE 100 is trading nearly 2% higher. Frankfurt's DAX and CAC 40 Paris has gained nearly 1%. Asian stocks were mixed, with mainland Chinese stocks jumping on the back of better than expected industrial output data. Indexes in Japan and Hong Kong edged downwards. Meanwhile, oil prices declined as Brent oil fell $65 per barrel. And now the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.